Hi, I'm Tom from Just One Pack, and this is AC on the Short Alpha Clash podcast, where I talk all things Alpha Clash, usually on my way to work. As you might be able to hear, the noise is not there. So that's because I've got the day off. I started the morning in Hamburg, in Germany. So I'm a little late to this. As it turns out, that was a good idea because there are huge news in the world of Alpha Clash. So let's dig into that. So today, as the time of recording, Rising Empire Studios made a legendary move. So last week they sort of spoiled that there would be some big news, and last episode of the podcast, I sort of guessed at what it would be. I was sort of right, but as usual, with Rising Empire Studio, I did not think big enough or enough out of the box to actually be close to what they were doing. So the thing is, I'll make sure that there's a link to the article below. What they did was, I guessed that they would tell us a little bit more what was supposed to be happening in terms of their push into Europe, or the push to expand the game. That was an understatement, to say the least. They have completely abandoned the distributors, at least for the US. They state very clearly in the article that they will be working with other distributors if they share their vision and their approach to distribution. But for the US, they are completely circumventing the distributors. Also, they're starting a championship program, champion store program, not a championship. They already have that in organised play. But they're organising a champion store program. What that is that stores that actually do events and want to build communities can register as champion stores. Or I'm saying register. I'm not quite certain whether that's register as, or they can apply for being it. But they can do they can at least apply for the classification of championship store. And what that means is that there will be a direct contact with Rising Empire Studio, and in this way you can be in direct contact with the ones who can send you support materials, meaning they can make sure you get your promos, they can make sure that you get posters and whatever marketing material there is, and even in some cases I would guess price support. So that is a huge move, and way more than I thought we were going to talk about in terms of what was coming, right? I thought we were just going to talk about how they wanted to do a push in the UK and not how they would completely upend the distribution of the game. Now, that doesn't seem like much for the average player in context of all the other things that came out, but that is a huge move and really a bold move. And all the bold moves they made so far, as far as I can tell, has really paid off. Now, I want to get back to that, but I want to also want to just mention the other things. They are for completely different podcasts, but I want to mention them. They announced that the Clash kits, as we know them, will disappear and be replaced by something else. They haven't said exactly what. I'm a little sad and a little excited because I really like the Clash kits. I think they're really good product and some of the best starter products out there. There are small tweaks here and there that I would prefer them to have. like a playmat or a little comic book. I mentioned this before. Even just a paper playmat telling you about where the zones are, we love that in there. But they're going to upend them or end them as they are, and they figure something new out. I'm fairly excited to know this. I'm sad because they're going away because I like them, but I'm excited to see what they come up with. So far, almost all their ideas have been good, right? The other thing that will affect players directly, right? The other thing that would affect players directly is that starting from the next set, and if I think I remember that it would be out in, I think, August, late summer, early fall, they will, from that set, from set 6, the first set in the Cosmic block, they will make every set draftable, which means that there will be more cards in a single pack. Whether that will mean there will be more packs in a box, I don't know. I don't think so, but I don't know. There will be more cards in a single pack, which means more cards for every time I'm opening a pack on the channel, on the YouTube channel, that is. That also, of course, means a price increase because there are more cards in it, but still not crazy expensive, right? I was actually going to talk about how this is an affordable game, but then this came, right? So they're still in this. This is still an affordable game, even if with this price increase. But you also get more product, right? And the last thing they mentioned, before I go back to the whole store distribution thing, and offer my thoughts on that, is that the Siege of the Forgotten, the player versus environment, I think of it as the solo player mode, which I think is so important to get this out there, right? That product will go to, first of all, there will be they will show it off this Wednesday, sorry, with Team Covenant, where sort of a demo of it, whether I think it's a playthrough, right? And they announced that this will be coming to these champion stores. That was in the program, right? That was in the part of them taking over distribution. More of that in a bit, but they are going to show that off this Wednesday. But that is a product that will come directly to the champion store. Now, they also mentioned that there will be separate expansions for this, for the PvE for Siege of the Forgotten. What that exactly means, I don't know. I would guess, if I were to venture a guess, that I would be an adventure deck, right? So if you've tried the Lorcana version of a single player or co-op game, PvE, you know that there's this adventure deck that you fight against. A lot of PvE setups like this, which are fairly rare in trading card games, for multitude of reasons, but the opponent is a deck of cards, as you would expect, but it's a deck of cards that's specifically made to be that. It's not just it's not cards that you as a normal player would be able to use. And they've said that there will be separate expansion boosters for this, and I think that might be, I hope, this is a guess, I don't know, they haven't mentioned, but I would guess that would be either cards for your decks specifically designed to work in this co-op mode, or giving you the opportunity to be the one that builds the the rival, right? So building in the first Seeds of the Forgotten, that is Lord Krong you're fighting. Well, maybe that would be the expansions will be something where you could build upon that adventure deck, building a harder opponent so you can go back and forth. Because one of the features with Seeds of the Forgotten is that the opponent could be a single player. It could be an automated deck, sort of an artificial intelligence, right? But it could also be another player. Sort of a one versus all, right? That expansion could be that you build that and bring it to your community, letting other players play against your decks, sort of like a card version of Dungeons and Dragons, right? So tabletop role playing, just played by cards. Anywho, that will be shown off later, and that will be a product that will come to these champion stores. Now, champion stores, as I mentioned, is part of this new distribution setup, where a store can become a champion store by selling and having events and stuff like that. Being that will have some benefits, and I remember talking with some of the Writing Empire Studio guys back in December at ClashCon, where all these frustrations that they don't know from Rising Empire Studio, they don't know what stores has their things, and they can't communicate with them. That was an issue back then, and I have the same issue with my local game store, right? Where every time I want something that is not just the booster box or the Clash kit, if I would have loved to get the comic book, right, from my own local game store, from where I buy my products, right? So they sort of help me out by me helping them out, buying 2, 3, 4 boxes of boosters, and then maybe I'll get a comic book from that. And then I've written to them, and I think they've been in contact with Writing Empire Studios. They said they have, but I didn't get a comic book. Whether that is because I did not buy enough, or they've given off to others, or just haven't received it, I don't know. But that's not the point. The point is that they need to do something extra to get the extra stuff. Things that would just be coming through the distributors, right? Now we as a community has to drive this knowledge into the stores, and the stores have plenty of games that are competing against each other, right? This is why it's important to do something different. And distributors, as it seems, what I heard from other parts of the community, from Australia, from a little bit from the US and from the UK, and from mainland Europe, right? This is very hard because the distributors are not. They're not necessarily. They have a business to run as well, right? And if they were, it's not that they are evil. I'm not trying to say that. It's just they don't have much incentive to pushing these free stuff because there isn't money in it for them, right? At least not much. So it's sort of left behind. They don't see their job as part of their job is to build a community. They don't see that, and they're sort of right. I can see where they're coming from, at least, right? So what Rising Empire Studio is doing with these champion stores is to get a direct connection so that they can talk to the stores, and also help the stores out, getting the promos there, getting something like Seeds of the Forgotten, the PvE and the support and stuff for that, getting it out to them so that the rest of us can actually buy them. Let me say this first. They might, for me, that would be also the championship stores that would get the comic books once they come out, right? So that would be a natural progression here. Two worries. This is a little bit like the Wizards of the Coast has something similar with. They don't call them Champion Store. They come with something different. I can't remember. And they get special products that no one else can get, right? Which means that even if this is to not differentiate between different stores, in actuality, it might, right? There aren't much in the way of details on what it takes to become a championship store, but take something like my store. To the best of my knowledge, first of all, it's quite a while. It's quite a way off from where I am. So I'm doing my own local scene, which is not in connection with a store. So my play group is not in a store. We're at a cafe, and it's just organised by me, right? So we don't have a store, but my local game store that actually does. My game store that actually does Alpha Clash is not local to me. It will take me something like a 2-hour drive and a toll bridge to get there and back again, right? Each way. So it's not something I'm not going to pop in every Wednesday or whatever. So in that sense, it's not my local game store, but it's the only one selling this product reliably. As to my knowledge, and I'm definitely reaching out, but they don't do organised play. So my theory is that there are a few stores, maybe a lot of stores, that doesn't mind having the product and does sell it, but are not eligible for being championship stores champion stores, because they don't do the organised play thing, right? I understand that there's a balance here to be struck between having stores that actually do promote the game and do build a community, and if we were so lucky at this point, right, unfortunate, depending on how you look at it, that online stores, web stores would sort of grab onto this product and try to sell it, right? One of the things that I don't want that. I don't want stores online to massively undersell it, right? It's at a great price point for getting into it, but not as much for collecting it, right, at this point. It's only fairly relevant. That's a whole other topic. Anywho, what I could fear is that there are stores like this that will not be able to have the championship program, and thereby a lot of players like me that would not be able to get hold of products such as the comic books, which I really, really want to collect and read, of course, but I really want to collect them, and products like Seas of the Forgotten that won't be available to at least some of us. The consequence of that is that players like me will have to buy at the champion stores, which is both good and bad, because that means I'm leaving my real quote unquote store for going to champion stores. Now that is the backside of this medal. The front of the medal is, of course, that it'll be much better feel with what is happening at the champion stores for Rising Empire 2. They'll be much more able to support them, and they'll be much more able to reach out when they have new ideas or to test things out, but also ensure that products and news and all the cool stuff is actually getting out there. There's just a gap. My second worry, my last worry is that getting away from distribution makes it a little bit harder to sell the game. This, I'm quite sure that they already have an idea on how to manage. The thing is that a lot of the pushing done into the market, a lot of the marketing for Alpha Clash has been through pushing. right? They say, at least for the US and for the Philippines, as far as I understand, that has been them going out, promoting it, selling it directly, right? The other part is that it's the pull effect, where I'm about to call them champions of the game, ambassadors of the game, interested players are pulling it, are getting into the local game stores and start poking them for getting this stuff, right? I'm quite sure that I, to some extent, have an influence on my game store still having the game. And still, they have all the sets. They start with Kickstarters, and they're all the way up to Equilibrium now, right? So that an effect of that, or an effect of me buying there, is that they still have it, right? So there is this support that needs to happen, but a new game store that is looking at the landscape of TCGs and seeing hundreds of them in all sorts of classes and styles and stuff like that, we might be going for the top two, meaning Magic and Pokemon, and maybe getting into something like Altered or Star Wars, right? Maybe Yu-Gi-Oh! I think I have opinions on Yu-Gi-Oh! But anywho, but that they might go that way. Digimon, maybe, depending on where in the world you are. All the rest of them, that would be by chance that they get them. And I'm really curious as to how they intend to do that, how they intend to market themselves, how to get that into stores. They sort of hinted at it, but that would be really interesting to see a more solid plan than they just hope that there will be champions or out there or ambassadors that will pull them out in the stores. Anyway, I was a little rambling for me to say that they are getting closer to stores. I genuinely think that is a really good thing. I do worry about how the development of the game will go forward. But the thing is that I probably don't have to, because Rising Empire Studio, the guys there, have already thought of how they're going to do that before they make a decision like taking over the distribution of the US themselves. Anyway, that was not a very short podcast. I apologize for that. But there was some really big news in the world of Alpha Clash, and I want to share my opinion on it. Anyway, that's all from me. Talk to you soon. Bye.